right, so hello everybody. Again, we're doing a basic stance video, and this short video will introduce you to the empty stance. So the idea of the empty stance, what makes it empty, is that one of your legs, the front leg, has no weight on it. So it's empty of your body weight. So in the empty stance, you have one foot that's forward and one foot that's back. The back foot's pointed out at an angle, slight angle, and the front leg has very little weight on it. So little that you can lift it, and you'll notice that my upper body really doesn't move. So what makes it empty is this front leg is empty of weight. This is a good stance for moving backwards, and it's also used for other defensive purposes in Tai Chi. This is one version of it. You'll see different versions of it. Some of them are lower. But for now, we're just introducing a Yang style, not very deep version of it. Now, with the bow stance, you recall that you have your feet shoulder width apart, and your one foot is turned out about 45 degrees, or somewhere between 30 and 45 degrees, and the other foot is forward. They're basically the heels are aligned with the hips or the shoulders. Okay. Now, if you're doing an empty stance, the distance, I'll just turn sideways so you can see it. The distance is a little shorter, about half of what the bow stance is, and the weight is back so that you can lift this front foot and either defend or step back and shift your weight. And when you're looking at it from the front, the feet are not aligned. They're not straight in line. They're still apart, but in a comfortable way. So they're not, you shouldn't be trying to force them out or force them in. You just find where that leg comfortably wants to rest, and that's where it should be. So with this stance, I'll talk about transitions a little bit in another video, but with this particular stance, you would usually be moving backwards with something such as repulsed monkey. So in the 24 form, usually you get into this stance with different ways. This one is called playing a lute, and if I were going to do repulsed monkey, I would take this front foot, I would place the toe behind, and then I would shift my weight back until I'm in an empty stance on the other side, and then the hand would push forward. Now, walking in this stance, the main thing is that you don't transfer your weight to the back leg until you have positioned it where you want it. You probably are going to want to look where you're going initially. So if I'm here and I make my step, I want to step my toe pretty much behind where my heel is. And when I put it down, it's going to be at an angle. And then when I lift that front heel, I'm now in an empty stance again. So I then take this foot and I bring it behind. The toe is behind the heel. I drop the heel and of the back leg, and I lift the heel on the front leg. Okay, so let's do a few repetitions of that. I'll show it to you from the front here as well. So in the front then, I'm in an empty stance. Actually, start here. I'm in an empty stance. When I step back, put my toe behind my heel, I drop that foot. You'll notice that my foot is in an angle in the back, and I lift the front toe. Now I'm in an empty stance. I take this again. My toe is concealed here by my front heel. I drop that foot, that heel, and I lift the front heel. Okay, so let's do that one together a little bit. So I'll start here in an empty step. Don't worry about your hands while you're working on the stances to start with. And what we're going to do is I'll step and shift and lift the front heel. step, shift, lift the front heel. Step, shift, lift the front heel. Step, shift, lift the front heel. Now, if I were going to go forward from here, what I would probably do is go into a bow stance. So I might extend this leg and now I'm in bow stance. Okay, so let's go again up to here. One thing I'd like to mention about this empty step is the place where people sometimes run into balance problems is when they try to overstep. So if you kind of swing the leg too much, or you swing it too far, and then you try to do this, you're off center, and it kind of torques that front leg. So you definitely want your joints to feel comfortable. You don't want to have torque. So you step to just a comfortable spot and then shift. Step. You don't have to swing it like that. You can just bring it straight past and shift. Let's do this again from this position, starting here with the right foot forward. My spine is straight. I'm stepping with no weight. And then when I have my foot where I want it, I shift back and lift the front heel. Step, shift, lift the front heel. Step, shift, lift the front. Step, shift, and lift. Step, shift, and lift. Okay. Other direction. Step, shift, and lift. Step, shift, lift. Step, shift, lift. Step, shift, lift. Step, shift, lift the heel. And if you want to test your stance at any given point, you can just try to lift that front toe. And if you find your body's kind of bouncing, then you put too much weight on the front leg. Other things that to pay attention to in this stance, how long it's going to be is again going to depend on how much bend you get in this knee. So if my knee is pretty straight or not very bent, then my stance is going to be fairly short. If I really bend my knee, then I can have a longer stance, but you have to be able to do that where the knee is over the foot, like we did with the bow stance, and you're not having discomfort in your knee or your back or any other part of any other joint. Okay, so how deep you can bend is what's going to determine how long your stance will be. But a good rule of thumb is whatever your bow stance is, your empty step will be about half that distance. But again, the leg where there's weight, the knee should be directly over the second, between the first and second toe. Okay, that's the empty stance. So work on that, and then we'll add some other transitions in the next video.